Very warm welcome to Kalang platform. Igniting the Curious Mind has on date 5th June 2026. Let's begin the chapter Plant Kingdom. In the previous chapter, we have looked at a broad classification of living organisms under the proposed by Whittaker in 1969, wherein he suggested five kingdom classification Monera protista, fungi, Animalia plantae. In this chapter, we are dealing with a further classification within five kingdom plantae, popularly known as plant kingdom. We must stress here out our understanding of the plant kingdom has changed over time. Fungi and the members of Monera protista have cell walls have now been excluded from plantae, though the early classification placed them in the same kingdom. So cyanobacteria are also referred to as the blue-green algae are not algae anymore. In this chapter, we will describe algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperm, and angiosperm under plantae. Let us look at the classifications within angiosperm to understand some of the concern that influence the classification system. The earlier system of classification used only the gross superficial morphological characters such as habits, color, number, shapes of leaves. They were based mainly on vegetative characters or on androecium structure systems given by Linnaeus. Such systems are artificials. They separated the closely related species since they were based on few characteristics. Also, our artificial systems gave equal weightage to vegetative and asexual characteristics. It's not acceptable since we know very often of vegetative characters are more easily affected by the environment as against this natural classification system developed, which were based on the natural affinities among the organisms and considered are not only external feature but also internal features like ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology, and phytochemistry. Such classifications for flowering plants have given a George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. At present, phylogenetic classification system based on the evolutionary relationships among various organisms are acceptable. This assures that organisms belonging to same taxa have common ancestors. We now use information from many other sources to help resolve difficulties in classifications. This becomes more important when there is no supporting fossil evidence. Numerical taxonomy, which is now easily carried out using computer, is based on all the observable characteristics. Number and codes are assigned to all the characters and the data are well processed. In this way, each character is given equal importance. At the same time, hundreds of characters has been considered. Cytotaxonomy is based on the cytological informations like chromosome number, the structure, behavior. Chemotaxonomy is based uses chemical constituents of the plants to resolve confusions, which also uses taxonomists for these cases. Algae are chlorophyll bearing, simple thalloid autotrophic, largely aquatic, both freshwater marine organisms. They occur in variety of other habitats. Moist stones, soils, woods. Some of them also occur in association with fungi, lichens, animals, such as sloth bear. Forms and size of algae are highly variable, ranging from colonial forms like volvax and filamentous like Lithorix spirogyra. A few of the marine forms, such as kelps, are massive plant bodies. Algae reproduce by vegetative, asexual, sexual methods. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentations. Each fragments develop into thallus. Asexual reproduction is by production of different types of spores. The most common being the zoospores are flagellated, motile, on germinating give rise to a new plant. Sexual reproduction takes place through fission of two gametes. These gametes can be flagellated and similar in size as in euthorax, or non-flagellated, non-motile but similar in size as in spirogyra. Such reproduction is also called as isogamous. Fusion of two gametes is similar in size as in species of Eurydonia is termed as an isogamous. The fusion between one large and one non-motile static female gametes, a smaller motile male gamete is termed as oogamous, volvax, and fucus. Green algae, volvax and Lithorix, brown algae, laminaria, fucus, and Daciota, red algae, Propyra, and Polysiphonia. Algae are useful in man in varieties of ways. At least half of the total carbon dioxide and earth is carried out by algae through a photosynthesis. Being photosynthetic, they increases the level of dissolved oxygen in the immediate environment. They are paramount importance as a primary producer of energy-rich compounds, which forms a basic food cycles of all aquatic animals. Many species, Propyra, Laminaria, Sargassum, are among the 70 species of marine algae has used as food. Certain marine brown and red algae produces large amounts of hydrocolloids, water holding capacity, algin, a brown algae, carrageen, a red algae, which are used commercially. Agar is one of the commercially products obtained from Gelidium and Garcilalia are used to grow microbes and in preparation of ice creams and jellies. Chlorella and a unicellular algae rich protein is used as a food supplements even in the space traveler. Algae divided into three main classes: Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae, and Rhodophyceae. Chlorophyceae, the members of Chlorophyceae are commonly called as green algae. The plant body may be unicellular, colonial, and filamentous. They are usually grass green due to dominance of pigments chlorophyll A and B. The pigments are localized in definite chloroplasts. A chloroplast may be discoid plate-like, reticulate, cup-shaped, spiral, ribbon-shaped, and in different species. Most of the members have one or more storage bodies of pyrenoids located in the chloroplast. Pyrenoids contain proteins besides starch. Some algae may store food in the form of oil droplets. Green algae usually have a rigid cell wall made up of inner layer cellulose and outer layer of pectose. Vegetative reproduction usually takes place by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction is by flagellated zoospores produced in the zoosporangia. Sexual reproduction shows a considerable variations in the types and the formation of sex cells and may be isogamous and isogamous oogamous. Some of the commonly found green algae are Chlamydomonas, Volvax, Euthorax, Spirogyra cara. Phaeophyceae, the members of Phaeophyceae or the brown algae are found primarily in the marine habitat. They show a great variations in size and forms. They range from a simple branch filamentous forms of ectocarpus to profusely branched form represented by kells which may reach a height of 100 meters. They possess a chlorophyll A, C and carotenoid xanthophylls. They vary in color, olive green to various shades of browns depending upon the amount of xanthophyll pigment fucoxanthin present in them. For the stored has a complex carbohydrate which may be in the form of laminaria or mannitol. Vegetative cells may have a cellulosic wall usually covered outside by gelatinous coating of algae. The chloroplasts contain, in addition to plastid, a centrally located vacuole and the nucleus. Plant body is usually attached to a substratum by a holdfast and a stalk of stipe and a leaf-like photosynthetic organ called frond. The vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction is most brown algae is biflagellated zoospores, which are pear-shaped and have two unequal lateral attached flagella. Asexual reproduction may be isogamous and isogamous oogamous. Union of gametes may take place in water or within the oogamous species. The gametes of pyriform pear-shaped bear lateral attached flagella. A common are Ectocarpus, Dicyota, Laminaria, Sargassum, and the Fucus. Rhodophyceae, members of Rhodophyceae, are commonly called as red algae because of predominant red pigment or phycoerythrin in their body. The majority of the red algae are marine, have a great concentrations in the food found in the warmer area. They occur in a well-lighted regions close to surface of water, also get a depth in the oceans where relatively little light penetrates. The red thalli of the most of the red algae are unicellular, multicellular. Some of them are complex body organization. The food is stored in the Floridian starch, which is very similar to those of to ampylopectin and glycogen in structure. The red algae reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation, say asexually by non-motile spores and sexually by non-motile gametes. Sexual reproduction is oogamous accompanied by a complex post-fertilization events. The common members are Polysiphonia, Poriptera, Garcilaria and Geladinium. The divisions of algae and their main characteristics. Classes: Chlorophyceae. Common name is green algae. Major pigments: chlorophyll A and B. Food storage: starch and cell wall is cellulose. Flagella 2 to 8 to equal apical. The apical position. The habitat: fresh water, blackish water, salt water. The Phaeophyceae: brown algae. Chlorophyll A and C. Fucoxanthin, mannitol and laminaria. Cell wall is cellulose and algin. The flagella is 2 and position is unequal with the lateral positions. The fresh water, blackish water, salt water. The rhodophyceae: red algae. Major pigment is chlorophyll A, D, fucoerythrin. The storage is Floridian starch. Cell wall is cellulose, pectin, polysulfate ester. Flagella is completely absent. Habitat: fresh water, some blackish water, salt water, most. Bryophytes. The bryophyte includes various mosses, liverworts that are found in a commonly grown moist shades area in the hills. Bryophytes: Marchantia, female thallus. The male thallus, female thallus, male thallus mosses. It's a funaria, gametophytes and sporophytes. Sphagnum, gametophytic stage. In the funaria, we have sporophyte, gametophyte, capsule, seta and leaves, main axis and rhizoids. In the sphagnum, we have antheridial branches and we have a branches here. Archegonial branches are present over here. Now, bryophytes are called as amphibians of plant kingdom because the plants can live in soil and depend on water for sexual reproductions. They usually occur in damp, humid shades locality, play an important role in plant succession or the bray rocks in soil. The plant body bryophytes is more differentiated than those of algae. It is a thallus-like and prostrate, erect and attached to a substratum by unicellular, multicellular rhizoids. They lack true roots, stems, leaves. They possess roots like leaf, like stem, like structure. The main plant body of the bryophyte is haploid. It produces gametes and hence called as gametophytes. The sex organ in the bryophytes are multicellular. The male sex organs are antheridium and they produce biflagellated antherozoids. The female sex organs are archegonia. It's a flask shaped, produces a single egg. Antherozoids are released into water where there is come in contact with archegonia. Antherozoids fuses with the egg to produce zygotes. Zygotes do not undergo reduction divisions immediately. They produce a multicellular body called sporophytes. The sporophyte is not free living but attached to photosynthetic gametophyte derive nourishment from it. Some cells of the sporophyte undergo reduction division meiosis to produce a haploid spores. These spores germinate to produce the gametophytes. Bryophytes in general are the little economic importance because osmosis provides food for the herbaceous mammals, birds and other animals. Species of sphagnum, a moss, provides a peat for that have long been used as a fuel and has a packing material for transshipments of living materials because the capacity of holding water. Mosses along with the lichens are the first organisms to colonize rocks, hence are of great ecological importance. They decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth and the higher plants. Some mosses have dense mats on the soil. They reduce the impact of falling rains and prevent soil erosion. The bryophytes are divided into liverworts and mosses. Liverworts. Liverworts grow usually in the moist, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy grounds, damp soils, barks of trees, deep in the woods. The plant body in the liverworts is thalloid, that is Marchantia. The thallus is dorsiventral, closely appressed to the substrate. The leafy members have a tiny leaf-like appendage to the two rows of stems-like structure. Asexual reproduction of liverworts takes place by fragmentation of thalli or by formation of special structure called as a gemme. or gemma. The gemmae are the green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called as gemmae cup located on the thalli. The gemmae becomes detached from the parent body, germinate to form a new individual during sexual reproduction. Male and female sex organs are produced either on the same or on different thalli. The sporophyte differentiated root seta capsule. After meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule. Spores germinates to form a free-living gametophytes. Meiosis, predominant stage of the life cycle. Moss gametophytes, which consist of two stages. The first stage is protonema stage, which develop directly from the spore. The second is a creeping green branches and frequently filamentous stage. The second stage is leafy stage, which develops from a secondary protonema and the lateral buds. They consist of an upright slender axis bearing spiral arranged leaves. They are attached to the soil through a multicellular branched rhizoids. The stage bears a sex organ. A vegetative reproduction in the meiosis is by fragmentation, budding in the secondary protonema. A sexual reproduction sex organ antheridia archegonia are produced at the apex of a leafy shoots. After fertilization, zygotes develop into sporophytes consist of a fourth seta capsule. Sporophyte in a meiosis is more elaborate than that of a liverworts. The capsule contains spores. The spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. The mosses funaria polytrichum sphagnum. Pteridophytes includes horsetail ferns. Pteridophytes are used as a medical purpose and also soil binder. They are also frequently grown ornamentals. Evolutionary, they have been the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. They have studied more about these in the chapter 6. Pteridophytes are found in cool, damp shades place and may flourish well in the sandy soil conditions. They may recall in the bryophytes have dominant phase in life cycle in gametophytic plant body. However, pteridophytes, the main plant body is sporophytes which differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. These organs possess well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in the pteridophytes have small microphyles and selaginella or large macrophyles are as in ferns. The sporophyte bears sporangia which are subtended by a leaf-like appendage called as sporophylls. In some cases, sporophylls may form a distinct compact structure called as strobili or a corn selaginella and equisetum. The sporangia produces spores by meiosis in the spore mother cells. The spore germinates to give rise to an inconspicuous small but multicellular free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called as prothallus. In the diagram, we have the diagrams of pteridophyte, selaginella, equisetum, ferns and salvinia. These gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Because of the species restricted requirement, the need for the water for fertilization spread of living pteridophyte is limited and restricted to narrow geographical region. The gametophyte bears a male and a female sex organ called antheridia, archegonia, respectively. Water is required for transfer of anthrozoids or male gamete released from antheridia to mouth of archegonia. The fusion of male gametes with the egg present in the archegonium results in formation of a zygotes. Zygote thereafter produces a multicellular well-differentiated sporophyte, which is dominant phase is the pteridophyte. In majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are similar kind, such as in a homosporous. Generally, like a selaginella and salvinia, which are produced of two kinds of spores, macro and the microspores, are known as heterosporous. The megaspores and microspore germinates and give rise to a female and a male gametophyte respectively. The female gametophyte in these plants are retained onto apparent sporophytes for variable periods. The development of zygote into embryo takes place within the female gametophytes. The event is a precursor to a seed habitat, which is considered as a which is important for the evolution. The pteridophytes are further classified into four classes: Psilopsida, Xylotum, Lycopsida, Selaginella and Lycopodium, Spinopsida, Equisetum and Pteridopsida, Diopteris, Teres and Ediantum. Gymnosperm. Gymnosperm, gymno means naked, sperma means seeds, are the plant which have ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall and remain exposed both before and after fertilization. The seeds that develop post fertilizations are not covered and naked. Gymnosperm include medium sized trees, tall shrubs. One of the gymnosperm with a giant red wood is sequoia. One is one of the tallest tree species. The roots are generally tap roots. The roots in some of the genera have a fungal associations in the mycorrhiza, that is spinous, while in some Icicus, small species of roots or coralloid roots are associated with nitrogen-fixing cyanobacteria. The stems are unbranched, Icicus, branched in Pinus and Cedrus. The leaves may be simple compound. In Icicus, the pinnate leaves persist for a few years. The leaves in the gymnosperms is well adapted to withstand extreme temperature, humidity, and wind. In conifers, needle-like leaves reduces the surface area. The thick cuticle, sunken stomata also helps to reduce the water losses. Gymnosperms are heterosporous. They produce a haploid microspores and megaspores. Two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that are borne on the sporophyll, which are arranged spirally along the axis or to form a lax or compact strobili or cone. The strobili which bears the microsporophylls and microsporangia are called microsporangiate or the male strobili. The microspores develop into a male gametophytic generations which are highly reduced and is confined to only a limited number of cells. The reduced gametophyte is called as pollen grain. The development of a pollen grain takes place within the microsporangia. Cones bear the megasporophyll with ovules or megasporangia called as macrosporangiate or female strobili. The male and the female cone or the strobili may be born on the same tree, Pinus. However, in Icicus, male cones and megasporophyll are born on different trees. The megaspores mother cell is differentiated from one of the cells to the nucleus. Nucleus is protected by envelopes and composite structure called as ovules. Ovules are born on a megasporophylls which may be clustered to form a female cone. The megaspore mother cell divides meiotically to form 4 megaspores. One of the megaspore enclaves within the megasporangium develops into a multicellular female gametophyte that bears 2 or more archegonia and female sex organ. Multicellular female gametophyte is also retained within the megasporangium. Unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes and gymnosperm, male and female gametophytes do not have independent free living existence. They remain within the sporangia retained on the sporophytes. The pollen grain is released from the microsporangium. They are carried in the air current, come in contact with the opening of the ovule born on the megasporophyll. The pollen tube carry the male gametes towards the archegonia in the ovules and discharge their content into the mouth of the archegonia. Following the fertilization, zygote develops into embryo, ovules into seeds, and seeds are not covered. Angiosperm. Unlike gymnosperm, where the ovules are naked, angiosperms or the flowering plants are the pollen or the ovules are developed in a specialized structure called as flower. In angiosperm, seeds are enclosed in fruits. Angiosperm are exceptionally large groups of plants occurring in the wide range of habitats. They range from very smallest to Ulfia to a very tall, that is eucalyptus over 100 meters. It provides us food, fodder, fuel, medicine, several other commercial important products, and they are divided into two, dicotyledon and monocotyledons. Plant summary. Plant kingdom includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperm, angiosperm. Algae are chlorophyll bearing simple thalloid autotrophic largely aquatic organisms. Depending on the types of pigment they possess and the types of food stored, algae are classified into 3 classes: chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, rhodophyceae. Algae usually reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation, asexually by formation of different types of spores, sexually by formation of gametes which may show isogamous and isogamous oogamous. Bryophytes are plants which can live in soil are dependent on water for several reproductions. Their plant body is more differentiated than that of an algae. It is a thallus-like prostate, erect or attached to the substratum by the rhizoids. They possess root-like, leaf-like, stem-like structure. Bryophytes are divided into liverworts and mosses. Plant body in the liverworts is the thalloid dorsiventral, whereas the mosses are upright, slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. The main plant body of the bryophytes is gamete producing producing and called as gametophyte. It bears a male sex organ called antheridia, female sex organ called archegonia. Male and female producers are fused to form zygote, which produce multicellular body called sporophytes. It produces haploid spores. The spores germinate to form the gametophytes. In pteridophyte, the main plant body is sporophytes, which is differentiated through root, leaf, and stem. These organs possess well-differentiated vascular tissues. The sporophytes bear the sporangia, which produces spores. So spore germinates to form a gametophytes, which requires cool, damp places to grow. The gametophytes bears a male and female sex organ called as antheridia, archegonia, respectively. Water is required for transfer of male gametes to archegonia, where the zygote is formed after fertilization. The zygote produces sporophytes. The gymnosperms of plants' ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall. After fertilization, seeds remain exposed. Therefore, plants are called as naked seed plants, and gymnosperm produces microspore megaspores, which produces in the microsporangia megasporangium on the sporophyll. The sporophyll of microsporophyll megasporophyll arrange spirally on the axis to form a male and female core respectively. Pollen grain germinates and pollen tubes release the male gametes into ovules where it fuses with the egg in archegonia. Following fertilization, zygotes develops into embryo and the ovules into seed. The angiosperms divide into two classes, dicotyledonnae and monocotyledonnae. Thank you so much for watching. You're tuned into Color Platform, igniting the curious mind where you and I we both grow together. Have a wonderful day.